Hello everyone, welcome back to Star Trek Club. It's our Dominion War watch-through edition. I am Captain Logan, and joining me tonight, as always, is Brandon Grimm.
Indeed.
And Adam Meredith. It's been about a month. I've had to take the last couple of Tuesdays that we would usually do this off for various reasons, so apologies for getting behind on this, but we're into our fourth part now. We're going to watch the next two episodes in Season 5, DS9, and we're getting closer and closer to the end of the season. We're going to watch 20 and 21 tonight, which is Ferengi Love Songs, and what's the other one, Adam?
Soldiers of the Empire, is that what it is?
That's what it is, yeah. So I have a Ferengi episode and a Klingon episode, and I don't remember exactly what happens in either of them. I know the first one has something to do with Quark's mom.
The second one is when Worf has to take, or like goes with Martok on the Retarn for the first time.
Oh, yeah!
And then Alexander's there, I think. Is Alexander there? I can't remember.
No, I think...
he has to get those guys into shape.
No, I think Alexander's the next season.
Then Alexander's the next season,
that's
right.
Yeah. Yep, and he's aged too much even again.
Oh, no.
It's hilarious, yeah. So now he looks like he's, a senior in high school or in college.
Right.
And only another 4 or 5 years have passed.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's preposterous. I'm pretty sure Alexander goes from, 5 years old to 20 years old in about 6-7 years.
Oh, dear.
Yeah, it's pretty great. But anyway, how the heck is everybody? Thanks a lot for joining us for more Star Trek. We've been doing some Star Trek stuff lately. Last week, Adam and Brandon and I went to the William Shatner documentary, which we talked about on After Dark last week, Brandon and I. So he and I have reviewed that a little bit. Not really reviewed it, but we talked about it a little bit on that show. But we can bring that up and just real briefly mention that and just kind of tell you whether or not we think it's worth seeing, I guess. But that is, you can call me Bill. And Adam, tell everybody a little bit about that documentary. We went and saw it in the theater.
Yeah.
And it released only in the theater. Yeah.
It was kind of just like Shatner just kind of riffing on, musing on different things and he's been thinking about, I guess, lately philosophy and ecology and just ruminating on his life too some, and that he's 93, I get, so he's thinking about his own mortality a lot and stuff, and it was interesting.
He does not look 93, that's for sure.
No, definitely not.
No, at some point Shatner kind of stopped aging, and everybody always says that about certain celebrities, but it's really true with Shatner. Not to compare these two too much, but it kind of bugs me when people act like Patrick Stewart is still ageless. Yeah. No, it's caught up to him now, folks. Sorry, it just has. But Shatner, that is not the case.
You can take a picture of Shatner from 20 years ago and look at it today, and they look.
And what's fascinating about it is when Shatner was in his 40s, he looked like he was in his 40s, and when he was in his 50s, he looked like he was in his 50s. But by the time he got to 80, he looked like he was in his 50s, and he's just really kind of stalled out.
Yeah, well, I think he's changed his hair pieces, but that's about it and stuff over it.
Yeah, I think they've gotten more sophisticated too. I think his hair pieces look more like actual hair now.
They look really good compared to the rug that he wore in the movies and stuff.
Yeah. But I don't know, Adam, would you describe that documentary as self-indulgent?
Maybe a little bit. I don't know. I thought it was kind of interesting. I don't know how much he was involved in making it himself, but yeah,
what was really weird about it for me, so that movie is an hour and a half straight of William Shatner talking, so no one else is interviewed. It's not a life and times kind of documentary where we go through linearly his life or different aspects of it. He takes us through some periods of his life, but mostly in just discussing more broader and ethereal topics he wants to talk about. But it's not the straightforward like interviewing people in his life and seeing what other people think about him, kind of thing. And I was actually fine with that. I thought it was self-indulgent more from the perspective of the person that made it and the editor. I kind of wanted all of that to get out of the way and just let William Shatner talk about whatever he wanted to talk about. I did appreciate that it was as stream of consciousness and as like not horribly edited down as it was. Like, I think a lot of the clips and things get in the way. Some of it's really useful, and some of it seems like a William Shatner or Star Trek fanboy just kind of getting in the way of it, where it's like, yeah, no, we know what he's talking about. Just get out of his way. Like let him talk. But there are diatribes where he goes on for maybe 10 straight minutes, where it never seems to be cut anywhere, or it's cut very rarely, where he'll just go down these rabbit holes and these tangents, and about, I don't know, 40% of the time I have no idea what he's talking about, and I think I'm fine with it, because it's kind of just a deep dive into the man's psyche. And we talked about this after we saw it at the movie theater privately, but a lot of people would watch this and think, oh, this is an old man who, loses his train of thought really easily, is maybe getting kind of senile. This is what he was like in his 50s and 60s, too. Like I think he's just more Shatner than he's ever been at this point. So I don't know. I'm surprised that he's as lucid as he is, honestly. I don't think it's age. I think it's Shatner.
Yeah. It was definitely, because we watched the other day the new documentary on Steve Martin that's on Apple TV and stuff, and it was kind of like similar. I mean, it was similar in that he's kind of reflecting on his life and his career and everything, but it was much more tight. No, it was
okay. So I feel like with the Shatner documentary, with the exception of a few notable places where he got super philosophical and like made these particular gestures, I'm going to call to mind the gecko or the little lizard he was mimicking. Yeah. With those few small exceptions, I would have really appreciated this on like as an audio only. Like, it did not need to be the visual for me, kind of as Cap was suggesting. But now that I have seen it, I could fully ingest it in audio format and know those points, what he was doing on the screen, and it's fine for me.
Yeah, I kind of wish he just had like a podcast series.
Oh yeah, I'd listen to that.
And maybe break it up into episodes and let him talk about different topics. Although he would get off the trail, I'm sure.
Didn't he release an album called TOS. Ponder the Mystery or something like that? Maybe you could call it that.
Well, that's the other thing too. Is this is about as like wild and out there and all over the place as a Shatner documentary has been, but I think it's important to note that like Adam alluded to, he didn't actually make this one. He's the subject of this one, but he did a documentary a few years ago just before Stephen Hawking died, where he interviewed Hawking. And Adam, have you seen that?
I have not.
That is it feels almost like a precursor to this. If you go back and look at that, and I don't even remember what the title of that is or what the larger subject is supposed to be. You know what? I think it was like how Star Trek affects like scientists and other people that like get into fields because of Star Trek. I think that was part of what the point of it was, but it gets very off the Star Trek subject, and he gets into a whole section where he's talking about mortality, and it's a lot like this. And I went into this expecting a lot of it to be William Shatner is afraid to die, and he knows he's getting a lot older, and that his time has got to come soon, just because that's how biology works. And again, when you're 93, you're going to be thinking about that more than you've ever thought about it. But this is how Shatner has been talking for the last 40 years.
Yes.
And so a lot of that wasn't new to me, but it seems like he's wanting to just, get everything said he's ever wanted to say before he's not able to say it anymore. And so in a way, it's almost like an off-the-cuff memoir or something.
Well, and
but I mean, memoir's not even the right word because it's not really a history.
It's just like, it's like just him ripping on a lot of just what he's been thinking about, I guess. Yeah.
You mentioned that you kind of heard these sentiments from him before in the past. I appreciated though the way the stuff he's done before what woven into the new stuff. I think it kind of went well with itself, and as much as it was a rambling, it was consistent in its rambling.
Well, and I definitely learned things and heard him talk about stuff I hadn't before.
Right.
He gets pretty vulnerable in a way maybe he hasn't before. And there's a couple places where he becomes a really tragic kind of figure. Toward the end, not to give too much away in case people want to watch it, and I'm sure it'll come to streaming at some point. But again, it's weird that it went exclusively to theaters, because it's not really like you said a theatrical experience.
Right, yeah.
But I'm glad I got to see it just as it came out. But there's a part toward the end where he's talking about his relationship with his parents and how he can't relate to people whose mothers show them very much affection, and who hug celebrities at ball games or win awards and that kind of thing, because his mother wasn't there for him in that way. So all of that's really alien and foreign to him. I'd never heard that.
Yeah, and then he talked about how he doesn't really ever have any close friends or anything. He said,
how alone he's
been. And it makes me wonder, is there, is this maybe some of this related to your relationship, to why you had these relationships with your co-stars and stuff that were acrimonious, and
where he keeps people at arm's length.
Yeah.
And has a difficult time making human connections. I hadn't had this thought before we saw that movie, Adam, but it makes it almost surprising that he's had as long of marriage as he has, because a lot of people who have that problem either get divorced a lot or they remain bachelors their whole lives. So it's just interesting that he has a hard time making those connections, but he's had more success in family than you might think with a person like that.
Yeah.
So it's really interesting.
That makes me think of the Steve Martin documentary. He has a similar issue in his personal life, but he just never really got. He married once in the 80s, and then didn't really get married and really have a close family relationship until just past in the 2000s, basically, and stuff. And he got married, and then he has a child.
How old is Steve Martin now?
75, I think.
Oh.
Well, and you see that happen with a lot of celebrities. Not to get too far off the beaten path, we'll get into our shows here in a little bit. But you see that happen with a lot of really famous people, particularly actors, who finally slow down in their workload enough to even have a family. So a lot of people find it difficult to even settle down like that until they're not traveling all the time and constantly on sets. Some of it is just a practical consideration.
That's true too, yeah.
But I don't know. This is one of those things where it's very funny, and it's also very sad and very thought-provoking. It's all of those things. It's really worth watching. Like I said, my biggest criticism of it was just the way it was edited and put together.
Some of it was unintentionally hilarious. So
yeah, of course.
I like that.
You always get that with Shatter. What's funny is it's really hard to take him seriously right at the start.
In one of the most serious spots, he's talking about a thing,
and I start to remember that I'm looking at a human being and not a crazy cartoon character by about the middle of the movie. And then it kind of winds right back to Crazy La La Land toward the end.
When he references how people have always,
there's actually all sides to a person like that, right? He's a very complex individual.
There's a part in there where he mentions, how people always comment about how he talks. And he's like, I don't see that. And then in the very next section, he does exactly that, unironically, just word after word after word.
But see, that I've seen him do. That was not new to this. He talks. He does that whole thing in interviews all the time.
But it is funny. It still gets me. or it gets me.
Brandon, you made us late because you had to go to your car for something. So what did you want to show us?
I can't even see it.
I went out to a thrift store today, and I found on the shelf this Star Trek cup for $1, but it is an unmarked cup, so it's not like a licensed thing. I think somebody made this with some bad sublimation, and it says, "I am functioning within normal parameters," but it has a Star Trek logo not from TNG on it.
Yeah, that's terrible.
So I was like, logo? What the heck?
Yeah, you're not going to be able to see that.
Can't see it.
See it. That's washed out.
Too washed out. But it says I am functioning on normal parameters. And I'm like, what is this mug? And it says it's on both sides and it's all streaked and stuff.
But they put like the Abrams chevron behind it?
Yeah. And I don't understand why. So for $1, I'm just going to put it up on my shelf for part of my collection.
I can't believe you spent money on that.
$1.
Yeah, I know, but still.
It's hilarious.
Yeah, that's weird. It's just really odd that those are the two things a person decided to put together.
Right? Nikki speculated it was probably somebody made it for their friend and just kind of effed it up.
Yeah, well, the least mysterious thing about all of that is why it would have wound up at a thrift store.
Right?
That's
what I was
that part of it
earlier.
Is not surprising.
I was like, well, no wonder it ended up there.
Hey, let's do a real quick Santa Replicator before we get started. I am thinking of a thing that has to do with Star Trek, and Adam, you get to start.
Is it alive?
It is not alive. Good, Brandon.
Is it technology?
Yes.
Okay.
Do you have a guess?
No.
Okay, go ahead,
Adam. Is it a place?
It is not a place.
But it's technology, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
It is. I said.
Oh,
that.
I thought you said not technology. I'm sorry.
No, it is technology. Good.
I'm trying to think of technological places. No.
Hey, Adam. Have some caffeine. Okay, go ahead, Brandon.
Is it seen in the original series?
No.
Okay.
Not seen in the original series. Is it seen in Deep Space Nine?
No. Curveball.
Curveball.
Is it seen in Enterprise?
No.
Okay.
Is it seen in The Next Generation?
Yes.
Okay, we get there somewhere.
Is it only in The Next Generation?
To my knowledge, yes.
Is it Federation and Origin?
Yes.
Okay. Is it sentient?
No.
Not sentient. Federation and Origin. Is it used in engineering?
No.
Is it seen on a starship?
Yeah.
Is it used for recreation?
Not typically, no.
Is it seen on a planet?
I think maybe.
Okay.
Yeah, I can confirm that it would sometimes be on planets, yes.
Okay.
I don't know if technically... I'm pretty sure yes. Go ahead, Adam.
Is this a unique item? Like,
yes.
Is there one of them, or is it... Okay.
It is.
Ooh.
Which I'll just say will make it harder. Go ahead, Brandon.
Is it... Ooh. Is it seen on board the Enterprise?
Yes.
Seen on board the Enterprise. Is this someone's personal possession?
No.
Okay.
We need music for this part. Good, Brandon.
Excuse me. Is it...
Don't explode, Brandon.
Did it have anything to do with lore?
With lore?
Yeah.
I don't think so.
Okay.
That was random? Okay, go ahead, Adam.
I'm drawing blanks.
Lore. Because I'm not more perfect than lore.
Oh,
think here.
I've got a question to ask.
Is nothing?
You are, Adam. You are less perfect than the lore.
Does Worf use this thing?
I don't remember.
Is it in more than one episode?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I gotta be honest with you. It would be difficult for me to remember who uses this thing when.
It's gonna be that something crazy like those little
Laboratory.
pyramids on the Tim Ford lounge table or something like
it's
that.
not, it's not. It's not crazy. Quite the opposite. Not that it's super easy or anything, but
Brandon, did you ask a question, Brandon?
I did. It's your turn.
Okay.
It's in more than one episode.
More than one episode, right? Let me think here. Is it a weapon?
no.
Not a weapon.
Is it a science instrument?
Okay, let me go back and say it is not in and of itself a weapon, and it is not in and of itself exclusively a science instrument.
Okay.
But can be used in various situations for either.
For everything.
Go ahead. Adam.
What the
Is
heck?
it? I'm trying to think here. Huh. Yeah, but those things are not specific to Next Generation. I was like, was that really basic? Like,
And remember, it's a unique thing.
Yeah.
a unique thing, right?
And-
I don't know. Does Data use this?
Like I said, I think so. I couldn't tell you who uses this when. You guys have gone down something of an odd path, so I will just help to steer you a little bit and say nobody has asked anything about size.
Oh.
See, I've been wondering.
That's a good thing. We went on a weird path.
You guys usually start with
Is
that.
it bigger than Worf?
Yes.
Okay.
Is it a ship?
It's not a ship.
Okay.
Is it a
Bigger than
shuttlecraft?
Worf.
It is a shuttlecraft.
Shuttlecraft.
Is
That's
it
a
the
ship.
Galileo?
No, TNG.
Shuttlecraft is a ship.
Oh,
In it.
Mark II.
Well, it's not your turn, but also no.
Okay.
You said it's a shuttlecraft.
Shuttlecraft. I said the
Oh.
Galileo by accident.
Is it? Oh God. Does it have a name?
It does have a name.
Okay, because some of them don't.
Some of them don't. Yep. This one does.
Those little ones don't. Actually, no, they do. Let me think here. Is it the Curie?
No, that's good, but no, it's not that one.
Okay, hold on a second. It's the. I can see it in my head right now. Oh my goodness.
I mean, a lot of them kind of look the same.
They all look the same, Brandon.
Yeah, but I'm like looking at.
Do you have a guess, Brandon?
No, I don't.
Adam, do you have another guess?
Isn't there one called like? Oh God. I don't know. I'm trying to remember the names of the TNG shuttlecraft. Is
Yeah,
there
no.
one called like
No, this is kind of tough.
the Justman or like?
Yeah, there
Bob
is
Justman?
the Justman.
Yeah,
that is
not
not
that
that
one.
is not the one I am thinking
Oh,
of.
I think I might know which one it is. But Brandon, you go.
I keep thinking of constellations, and I can't come up with it.
Do you have it, Adam?
Is it the Hawking?
No, it's not the
Oh,
Hawking.
because I thought we were talking about Hawking earlier, so I thought that's where you.
No,
you got that.
now the Hawking I think is a Voyager shuttlecraft, is it not?
Oh, maybe it is.
Or is that a TNG?
You
I
might
know
be right.
I know Voyager has a Cochrane.
Cochrane.
But I think they might all.
The infamous
Maybe
Warp
Hawking
10
is
one.
TNG. Yes. I can't remember. No. The only other clue I'll throw at you in case this jogs your memory, Adam, is this is a shuttlecraft that is used a few times before the episode where it is given to someone.
Oh. I know what you're talking about.
It's given
But I
to
don't
Moriarty.
remember the name.
Nope.
No?
No. Moriarty's in a cube.
Oh, he is in the cube.
Yeah, a real shuttlecraft is not given to Moriarty.
No, I know
But there
what
is
you're
someone that
talking
gets an
about,
actual
but I
one.
can't remember the name of it.
Okay, are you ready?
It's the one given to Scotty, and I
Yeah,
can't
it's the one given to
remember-
Scotty.
Oh, yeah,
It's
yeah,
the
in
it's the
Relics.
it's the Goddard.
The Goddard. I would not have gotten that.
Oh, yeah. Good.
Yes, I stumped Adam.
Yes.
That's rare.
I went with that. I wasn't sure if you guys would know that. It keeps popping up in stuff I've been looking at lately.
Mm.
I
And
wouldn't have
so
gotten it.
I wanted to throw it out and see if it was as common as like knowledge as things I keep looking at, because it's all over a novel I'm reading right now, and I mentioned this on one of these shows a month or two ago, where I was looking at special features from the old ride from Star Trek: The Experience,
Right.
and the Goddard is in that,
Wow.
and Riker hails it. And there's this hilarious bit in the behind the scenes where he's doing various readings, line readings, and he starts pronouncing it weird on purpose. So he's like Riker to Goddard, Riker to Goddard, then he goes Riker to Goddard,
Godard, like Jean-Luc Godard.
which is hilarious. Captain Goddard. Jean-Luc
Okay.
Godard. Anyway, all right. Well, let's go ahead and watch our first episode. It's Ferengi Love Songs. We'll watch this one. We'll rate it. We'll take a break. And thanks a lot for joining us, folks. As always, these are blind. We've not looked at these ahead of time. Adam and I, at least, have seen all these before, but it might have been a while. You told me this, Adam. But when was your last watch through of DS9? It was kind of recent, wasn't it?
We finished watching it like the beginning of last year.
Oh, cool.
We have been watching it over a little while, at least
some
a
of this
couple
is
of years.
relatively fresh in your
So
mind.
did you start it during the pandemic?
I do not remember when we started watching Deep Space Nine.
Oops.
Yeah,
And this is loading.
3 or 4 years ago, Sarah and I did an almost complete watch through of Voyager.
Yeah, we're on Voyager right now, watching. I think we're in season 5.
See, I think we lost interest somewhere during 6, and just forgot to go back to it. And 7 is a slog, man. Like, I can't get excited about watching that in order. Like, there's those 5 or 6 episodes that are really good. It's kind of like TNG season 7, except a lot worse.
Yeah, they kind of like basically it was just like everybody that was involved was working on other crap, so they just kind of getting ready for Enterprise. So it was just like whatever, just finish this up.
Well, and they threw one of their weakest writers on as showrunner.
Yeah.
I can't remember his name right now for some reason, but nothing against that guy, but he wasn't a good showrunner.
Put everything against that guy.
And like suddenly you're not even worried about the studio telling you what to do anymore because they don't care, and you make it that episodic, and you're not moving toward a finale. Like, what are you even doing?
I don't understand why they didn't like. One thing I never liked, why does the Neelix leaving episode, that should have been the penultimate episode. Why did he leave? And then they did that another Dr. Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy type episode or something like that.
Except it wasn't even entertaining. Like, it wasn't.
Yeah.
It wasn't really about the Doctor. It was just the hierarchy again.
The hierarchy, yeah.
That's all it was.
Stupid
It was
Why
sort of a
didn't
follow up
they-
to that, and like I like them. Okay, you could have done something fun with that, I guess, but they didn't. It was
I
just a
thought it
boring
was-
Janeway gets
yeah.
kidnapped episode.
Yeah.
They're hilariously inept despite having some sort of civilization.
And I
Yeah.
think that's the same episode. Well, it's just because it's run by a computer
Yeah.
that Kirk can't destroy because he's not around.
Mhm.
But is that the same episode with just a lot of boring like Chakotay wandering around woods? Because that's what I remember as the second to last episode of that show.
I don't remember. It's been so long.
I don't know if those are separate episodes or the same one. I think it might be the same one.
Yeah.
I'm forgetting. Anyway, let's watch something better than that.
All right.
Everybody get it rigged up to timestamp 0. Let me get the clock
All right.
pulled up.
Let me get this.
The clock.
Whoops. I think I backed it up too far. Sorry. 1 second. There we go.
Are you ready, Adam?
I'm ready.
I'm also ready.
Wait, let me turn my subtitles.
You gotta take heed to the words of Scar from the Lion King and be prepared.
Yes.
I always feel like you have to go, be prepared.
You don't, though.
Okay,
You really
then.
don't. You can't just quote things without singing them.
I mean, it sticks in my head, but sure.
Yeah, which you could totally leave there, and
I could have.
yeah, you could have. All right, is everybody ready?
Yes.
Yes.
Everybody, please press play right now.
I think they're doing the vole infestation.
Oh, that's right. It's kind of funny that it opens and for a split second you think you're in the middle of a war zone.
Yeah.
Ooh, but then the
it
question
phaser
is,
tag?
is this intentionally kind of comedic foreshadowing to we have an actual war on the horizon?
Yeah.
So when she's like, who's winning the war? It's like they know that in just a few episodes, it's about to really get real.
I wish we could have seen the voles alive. The only time we ever saw the vole was like the stunned one or whatever. I want to
That's
see it actually
right.
moving.
That's true.
I want to see it. They're really weird looking.
The voles are the tribbles of DS9.
Yes.
Although the tribbles
Except
are
when
also the tribbles of DS9.
Yeah.
The only tribble is.
Good one, Brandon. That's why we have Brandon here.
That looks like a weird chair.
That is not a comfortable chair.
It's like
Nope.
it's like this.
It's a Shay Lounge. Shay Long.
The Shea Lounge.
Well, yeah, anybody that has to sit in that chair should be depressed.
It's a Ferengi Shay Long.
Although for a second I thought it was his bed, which would be way worse.
This is the Negus. Oh. They're getting it.
Oh yeah, because we just had we just had a Dr. Pishur, I presume, like a couple
I didn't
episodes
realize
ago.
it was that quick that they were dating and then got engaged.
It's really fast.
That's really fast. Wow.
I think maybe their logic is the two of them
Have already done a lot.
even though they haven't been dating,
right.
they both have made it really clear to each other that they're
Right.
interested, but they haven't done anything about it for so long.
Right.
That they're like making up for lost time, I guess.
Yeah.
It still seems really fast though.
Maybe it's Ferengi courtship rituals. All the Ferengis I've seen tend to move fast. Him being the slowest.
But again, keeping in mind that Rom dragged his feet and wasn't proactive at all,
No.
Right.
and he's like the least indicative of a standard Ferengi of any of them.
Rom's the mommest boy.
Which is kind of funny because at the start, and I know I've talked about this a lot with Rom.
That mad
but,
painting was
But at
good.
the start, he's just like the absolute typical Ferengi, and then they decide that he's unique and different. And
Is that just a redressed set door?
yes,
I don't know. Yeah, this is their normal set. I love that they have to put money in people's houses when they walk into it. And they say, "My house is my house, and are its contents."
oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Or
Brandon,
and are its
I
contents.
said for a second it is, and I guess I'm not sure because they did go through the trouble of putting the Ferengi emblem on the door
Yeah.
and like
Yeah.
having it etched out like that.
It was sliding doors, but it kind of looked like they just redressed like a hallway set or something, but...
Yeah, but it can't just be that. They might have taken in like an old, block of wall, but like
maybe.
this is a house set.
I think
That's true.
this is a set that they built, and they've used it several times
Gotcha.
up to this point.
Yeah, it's not a redress set.
Gotcha.
They've used it at least once or twice already.
Last year, I bought the old Hallmark ornament of DS9.
Yeah.
It's
It
pretty
has
cool.
a base that talks. You have to it's dumb as it lights up, but it only lights up if you put it on the base. So you can't put if you put it on the tree, it just hangs there.
I noticed. I thought that was really weird.
That's
And
kind of lame, especially with how expensive that stuff is.
What's funny
It's
the other
because
day...
I guess it was too hard because of Deep Space Nine's so spindly kind of construction-wise to put a power source in it and stuff.
The other day, I found a Hallmark ornament power box that you plug in separately and connects to all the Hallmark ornaments. It connects to like 5 at a time.
Oh, the old ones?
Uh-huh.
I just use an old strand from the 90s, and I don't think it's probably the safest thing to do. I don't know.
That's hilarious.
Also,
I still have old strands.
I have too much plugged into it, but I've noticed like one of the ornaments that is like a flashy little train-looking light thing. It's like going like real fast or something. Like it's like.
That's too good.
Yeah, a lot of my ship ornaments I've never even seen light up because I don't have, this kind of
yeah, they don't
lights
make
anymore.
it work anymore.
So I can't connect them to anything. Senior Stick says, "What's a typical Ferengi?" Well, my point is, if you've seen the rest of this show, we're trying not to talk too much about things that happen later, but like Rum will go against nearly every major custom by the time we get to the end of the show, and there's a lot of social reforms that happen directly related to and because of Rum. And I think some of that might even start in this episode.
Yeah, he these two put ideas in his brain here, and he gets all.
No, he just said what you said. Not your traditional Ferengi male.
Yeah. And he gets all mad because Leto won't do this stuff for like 2 seconds, and he's like, "Oh, well, it doesn't matter."
Yeah, exactly. Because he's a pushover.
Yes, because these two are.
But then he starts to look a
insecure.
little bit more nuanced and complex than that. Where, it's clear that he cares more about her than he does
Right.
the
Well, I
customs
think that
of
happens
his
in this
planet.
episode,
And he
too.
starts like rethinking the way his people, treat women and treat people in general. I'll just read the super chat real quick. Senior Sticks, $2 super chat. I think before he probably wrote this before I said what I said. And I don't fully understand what he's saying here, but he says, "Stand to reason the standard Ferengi closer to Rom." Again, early on it looks that way, not when you get to the end of the show.
All right.
I like her outfit too. She's got good outfits.
Second actress to play her, right?
Sorry, what?
Well, there's a different actress that played.
I think that's
Ishka,
right, yeah.
Right?
Now, one
I think she
question I
died.
have is if Ferengi women don't usually wear clothes, like, are there exceptions where there are female fashions on the planet? Or does Ishka have to go to
She has
some
to go off-world.
other planet or go to some other species in order to get clothes? So, like, is this Ferengi female clothes, or is it from someplace else?
It's Bolian.
Is there a thing about
would
Bolian
the
silk
Bolians would
or
never wear
something?
something that flashy. They seem like the most boring people.
Tube grubs.
What, the Bolians?
Yes.
Well, they do because I complained about this somewhere recently, but the Bolians are so undrawn. Like, we do nothing with that
We know
society.
nothing about them. They're all all over, and we
It's
don't
the
know
Dr.
anything
Seuss
about
house.
them.
It does look like the Doctor's, and it looks like a Hobbit house.
The Ferengi in the
Oh,
hat.
yeah. Oh, this is the best part.
Oh yeah, the Marauder Mo action
You know-
figures. That's one of my favorite bits of trivia.
Yes, they're just Star Trek action figures, I think, with some pipe cleaner.
Yes, they are.
Playmates. What are you doing here?
But the opportunity they missed with that, Adam, was to give it the phaser that has the beam coming out of it perpetually.
Yes.
Her computer looks like it comes out of the 1970s.
I didn't know we were going to get to see the Grand Negus in this episode.
Yes, this is the first episode when they're started.
We're there together, yeah.
Dating.
Well, he's a tall dude.
Yes, His name is Tiny Ron. That's the name of that actor.
Is the name of the actor, yeah. The name of the character is Mayor Doom.
Mayor Doom. Mayor Doom!
And he goes all the way back to first season.
Yes.
Now, what's really interesting is Wallace Shawn has more or less been playing Zack the same way since the beginning.
Yeah.
It gets a little bit refined, but like I said
Yeah.
earlier, Rom is completely reinvented halfway
Right.
through. Like, Grotachik does a whole reversal with him. I think,
Yeah.
like, I'm sure it's probably like more and Bear like rethinking that whole character, and so you can't give Grotachik all the credit for it, but he has to come up with a new way to play the same character basically.
Right.
I love
Nice
Max
review.
Grotachik. He's one of my favorite Star Trek actors I ever met in person.
So when they're playing together, do they have to not wear clothes? Or they're just like by themselves?
Oh, yeah. I mean, for the sake of sanity, we should not overthink that.
No. Mhm. Mhm.
So I've never been the biggest fan of Quark episodes, and I think a lot of it is just, I like some of the brand of comedy with these is not my favorite thing. So like they're watchable, they're tolerable, it's fun enough. But what's weird is Quark, I think, is a great character of in a species that like I'm just not like obsessed with like
Right.
like some other things
Certainly.
with Star Trek. So and it's such a and we've talked about this a lot on the show, but the idea of starting with what's supposed to be a really menacing villain species that becomes just the butt of jokes, and so now it's just all comedy every time you do a full-on Ferengi
Right.
episode, and it's kind of just a taste issue where some people are like huge into this and they love the like the comedy interrupting the really kind of oppressive drama sometimes. And for me, I kind of prefer Quark in dramatic episodes.
Yeah.
And
These
so
are fun
this
every
stuff can
once
be a
in a
fun
while. Some are more
diversion.
successful, I think, than others.
Well, and sometimes they come too close together.
That's true.
So some of them actually watch a little better in a vacuum,
Mm-hmm.
which is kind of weird. Like, can you not just imagine this scene with a laugh track? Like,
Yeah.
Yes. The Ferengi sitcom.
these sometimes just turn into sitcoms. And that's less of a criticism and more of just an observation. Like,
Yeah. I think the one of the most successful ones of these is definitely the Magnificent
Ferengi.
Ferengi episode.
Well, there's a lot actually at stake there, and so
Yeah.
it feels like it doesn't feel like the world is degenerating into comedy. It feels like these people doing what they would do in this situation,
Right.
and it just ends up being goofy. And I guess this episode isn't really degenerating so much either. It's just I think it's more fun to deal with like a more dramatic or scary aspect
Mm-hmm.
of this world, like the Dominion dealing with the Ferengi, as opposed to actually going to Ferenginar.
Mm-hmm.
But I think this is the first time we actually go to Ferenginar too, is it not? Or has
This
that?
episode? No, they
or has that
went
happened?
there. I think at least a couple seasons before this.
I can't remember. I was second guessing that as soon as I said it, though.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, now, to our kind of criticism of Rom earlier for proposing as quickly as he did, let's not forget that in Dr. Bashir, I presume, she nearly ran off with another guy who she had just met.
Right.
That he was trying to get to come with him and with what's his name, Zimmerman.
Yeah.
And commit to like a life with him, having just met him 48 hours earlier.
Yeah.
So after that happens, maybe
that's crazy.
he's on to something. Maybe that's the only way he's going to get her.
He needs that prenup.
So his mom's relationship is heating up, while his brother's relationship is falling apart.
Bolian. Have you ever made a Star Trek drinking game?
A Star Trek drinking game?
Yeah.
Everything I always think of, I would probably drink myself to death by the end of an episode. I would end up drinking too many times. Or it would happen so rarely it just wouldn't be any fun, It's hard to find that sweet spot.
Probably really disgusting.
That's why we don't do drinking games on Count and Crypto Freaks, because I would be dead by now.
No, you've talked about that before.
Yeah, because all we do is count stuff on that show. Do you know how fast kryptonite would kill you? We count how often Clark's on kryptonite, or people walking away angry. If you made that a drinking game with a CW show, you'd be dead after an episode.
So he's not willing to be a hypocrite here.
Just wait, that'll change.
Ferengis never gave me the impression they had a whole planet of themselves. They're always just to me, they're kind of islands of what I can't picture as a full-blown civilization.
Yeah, I can see why you'd say that, because the idea is so out there and extreme and cartoonish. And they're as consistent with it as you possibly could be.
Certainly. But I just don't see the whole plan. I don't even Klingons to some extent. I feel the same way with. I feel like you're getting at best a nation state.
Well, and I was actually going to mention that with Klingons. We do sort of the same thing with the Ferengi that we do with the Klingons, where your society is built on... Oh, Brunt's back. Your society is built on such an extreme and unwavering ideal that it can't possibly be sustainable.
Certainly.
And we kind of do it with Vulcans to some degree too, where it's when you're so extreme and rigid about the idea of logic, and we don't even have emotions. You're protesting too much. You're that whole thing falls apart somewhere, and we've done that with all three of those species.
Yeah. I think really, if you think about it, most Star Trek species are like that, where they'll have these ideals as a society.
They're all in denial,
always
in some ways.
Yeah, even humans.
And at the
yeah,
and so there's some clear commentary with all of that.
Yeah.
So I find myself wondering, after we've discussed it, I was thinking about humans, and I was thinking, well, if I was an alien looking at humans, would I feel the same way about a capitalistic society that we currently live in? Do I see that being a full world? Or do I look at them like a caricature of a sect of humanity?
Well, and what's interesting about the Ferengi versus some other species, and again, it's clear why this ended up happening with them. They had to become a joke to even survive the series, basically.
Right.
Is he wearing Latinum?
The Ferengi are a satire of the traditional American capitalistic society, and in a way that no other species in Star Trek really is. Very few, especially major recurring, really well-developed species in Star Trek are a satire, as opposed to a parallel or a or just a commentary or something, right? So like, the Klingons and TOS start as kind of your stand-in for the Russians. The Romulans go back to a like Roman structure. The Ferengi are a satire.
Right. I really don't know, like, when they did the Laos outpost, what they were thinking. Like, who the hell told them to act like that when they were on the set and stuff?
Well, doesn't the guy who played Quark, Armin Shimmerman, doesn't he feel somewhat responsible
He wasn't the director, and there was 4 other guys there with him that were playing Ferengis.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah, they're all doing it like that. And, I mean, the bigger question is, how is that supposed to be your scary big bad species?
I know.
Did you know my sister told at the time that I got engaged to my fiance, my sister was working with Armin Shimmerman where she works, and she told him, and he wished me a Mazel Tov
Oh,
for
cool.
my engagement.
That's
Not all
that's
of
cool.
it.
I'm distracted by the big metal thing on Zach's shirt because it
I don't
looks
know
like
what
a
that is.
giant bottle opener.
It does.
Yeah, the one on Brunt's looked like Latinum.
He was just wearing a bar of Latinum.
Yeah. It's kind of a trapezoidal shape.
Yes, there's both of these stories.
That's a big zipper. It's a giant zipper.
Here and stuff, and the
Zip.
A and the B story do.
That it is certainly, and I think they know this and they're just leaning into it. It's certainly a little bit convenient that out of all of the women on Ferenginar, it's Quark's mother that Zach ends up with.
Yeah, that is true.
And we have the same problem with Worf, where these planets feel so small.
Yeah.
They're these big planets with a one world government, and
Right.
everybody seems to know everybody. Like, you get the sense that fewer than 1,000 Klingons must live on Kronos. Because everybody has heard of your house if you're honorable and you have done anything. And I'm like, how many
You never get to see
Klingons
any much of the. I mean,
on that planet?
And the Great
part of
Hall is
it's
not
just the
that
budget, I
big, but
guess,
every
you
Klingon's
never
been
get
there.
to see much of these planets, and how everybody. One of the cool parts I always liked was in. What is it? Is it Sins of the Father where Picard goes and finds that woman that was, Worf's nanny or whatever and stuff, and they kind of show like the underside, an underworld a bit of Kronos and stuff,
Yeah, well, it's always on the verge of civil war.
Yeah.
It just exists on the brink of civil war.
What is that thing that he's using?
I also think it might be a little bit convenient that so many of these planets like wind up on the brink of societal downfall around the same time. It's like, what is special about the 24th century? Like, is it just our major characters' involvement in these societies? Like, can you blame the
They're
Federation
causing the
and
problems.
specifically like captains of enterprises
Yes.
for this? And then I guess in this case, it doesn't actually really have anything at all to do with the Federation, except maybe Federation ideals influencing Quark and Rom.
He threw one of his men off the balcony.
Yeah, I missed it. I don't know what you're talking about. I was trying to make a point, Adam. What are you talking about?
He threw one of his men off one of those balconies up there, and they said it was it's just a disciplinary measure. Yeah.
Oh, I missed that.
No. Lots of neon down here, it feels like.
Yes, there's a lot of neon on the promenade.
Every now and again, I'll notice an alien in the background on the promenade of a species that we do multiple times in DS9, but I still couldn't tell you what the name of the species is.
Have you ever noticed that weird fish thing on the promenade? It's like a sign with like a fish skeleton.
Yes. I don't know what that is.
I want that thing. I want to hang it on my wall.
Convincing.
Brandon, jokes are always funnier when you explain them.
Did I explain it?
There's not as much neon on the promenade as there is on the Zocalo of Babylon 5, though. I will say that.
Okay, so now we're just retreading Data's day.
There it is again, matte painting. Those matte paintings are pretty interesting how they do them. I was watching Adam Savage talk about one from Blade Runner, and it was really cool. They were showing it up close. Yeah, they're really, really neat.
This episode is really well structured with the A and B stories.
Yeah.
Like Brandon was alluding to that earlier, with the way they parallel.
Yeah,
and you know, it's kind of neat that it's two people of the same family that are dealing with different things, but the stories kind of thematically converge.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm not personally crazy about either of them, but it's a well, structured script.
Oh, nice line delivery. Once again, great outfits. Wonder where they find the materials for these things.
Bolia.
Oh, Joanne Fabric.
That's what we've decided is that Ferengi women don't wear clothes, so they must have gotten them from somewhere else.
Oh, that's what you were saying earlier, right?
So I'm going with Bolia.
They should have had him say "Go for Brunt" when he answers the phone.
I think we do a decent job of making Quark as, continually as sympathetic as possible while still being as underhanded as he is.
Right.
Well, you understand his motivations.
But Brandon, what I was going to say is, he's using like the same tactics that he usually would to, help, weapon runners on the station and things like that, and not just for, the sake of his own family, but in his mind, like saving his whole planet.
Mm-hmm.
So I like that when we do Quark episodes like this, we put things from his perspective where we might not, agree with the kind of, ridiculous, material ideology of this planet, but from his perspective, he's like saving tradition and keeping, the whole thing from crumbling in exactly the same way as we probably, a lot of us don't agree with, a lot of the, ceremonies that require you to murder people on Kronos.
Yeah.
Or, assisted suicide rituals and things like that, like you have in season 4 with Kern.
Yes.
But when Worf goes in for those things, you understand it.
Right. Or when Worf asked Alexander to kill him, or when he wanted, he was going to have Alexander kill him in ethics.
Yeah, and I think it's ridiculous when Kern comes in and asks Worf to kill him that we'd never bring up ethics.
Yeah.
That should come up there.
It's because they don't have ethics.
Yeah, exactly.
Are those right?
Do I have these numbers right?
Are those right? That's what I said.
He looks like he's on an episode of Price is Right.
Huh. So, just like Mr. Home, this guy doesn't talk.
No.
Yeah, he's basically the same kind of character.
Mr. Home does say something, doesn't he, in one episode?
Yeah, but,
but
he's generally kind of mute.
Yeah.
He's not as mute as Morin, but... Senior Sticks puts in a $5 super chat. Half the Klingons want tradition, the other want progress. The Trill oddly have one problem: not enough symbiotes for 80% of the population. I don't know what those two things have to do with each other, but that is true.
Do I like it? That's all he owns.
But yeah, I guess the Trill are unique in that there's not, as clear of a... I don't know, I haven't really given this a great deal of thought, but there's maybe not as clear of a, social parallel to anything in the 20th century with them.
Yeah. Those look like Wonka bars.
I mean, I don't know, Adam, is there maybe some kind of like a classism thing with them?
I don't really know. It's hard to tell about.
I guess.
Yeah.
I guess not, because it doesn't seem like it's, anybody of a particular stature that gets a Trill symbiote. It's more you go to a basically a university and you'd have to be.
Yeah. Picked,
you have to be picked for it. Yeah.
TU Trill University.
The Trills are part of the Federation, right?
Yeah.
They are part of the.
Yeah, they are a Federation species.
Then why does Ezri's parents run that whole thing on that Orion syndicate planet where she's like a mine robber, like a 20th century robber baron or something like that?
Oh, I forgot all about that. Well, she's an exception. Morn's got himself a Jumja stick.
Jumja stick. But she's also got some of those balls from Pier 1 in a bowl. Look at that.
It's actually kind of amazing that Ram and Lita work out. Because, when the way they get together is Ram is not proactive, and she basically has to put him in a position where he better finally say something. And then they try to rush into marriage, and she very quickly almost calls it off. It's amazing this works out.
We have nothing but our love.
Think it's weird. Is that her job now? She doesn't work as a Dabo girl? She sells Jumja sticks?
I guess she has a side
hustle.
She has a side hustle.
She's a Jumja stick monger.
But the bigger question there is, does Rom not make any money?
Rom works for the Federation. I don't understand the Bajoran economy because
that's what I'm saying. The Rom is
I don't know.
Brandon, he doesn't though.
Oh,
because
that's true.
It's a Bajoran station.
Yeah.
So I would think if you have a job as an engineer there, I would think you'd get paid unless you are Federation.
Yeah.
Even though you're working under Chief O'Brien, I would still think you'd get paid.
Because he's a Bajoran. Yeah, he's working under Chief O'Brien, but he's not Starfleet. He's a Bajoran engineer, employee, or whatever you call him.
It's also important to keep in mind that every Federation officer on the station makes money somehow because they all pay for stuff with Latinum all the
They
time.
must give them some kind of credit allotment and stuff that Quark accepts as a currency or something, you know?
Well, yeah, but it's not just that, because Cisco in multiple places pays for things with Latinum.
I don't know why he has that, honestly. Yeah, that doesn't make any sense.
Maybe there's an exchange.
Maybe they exchange the credit, the Federation credits for Latinum. They do mention credits like in Encounter at Farpoint. Beverly uses them to buy those fabrics and stuff.
Yeah, but first and second TNG in certain ways might as well not even be canon.
That's
I don't
true.
really
There's
mean
weird
that,
stuff in
obviously,
it.
but just with some of the world building stuff, we get, like we totally reinvent the wheel somewhere. Where at some point in the middle of TNG, you get the sense that, okay, it really is a moneyless society. It's not like that in TOS, of course, and it doesn't feel like that at the beginning of TNG either.
I guess they do. The first time they really go into it is the neutral zone, which is the final.
Oh, that's true.
episode of season
No, that's
one.
true. So it is earlier than I'm saying, but
Yeah. And they do kind of make a reference to not having money or whatever in Star Trek 4. That might be one of the first times they say something like that, but whatever that means.
it would be nice if some of that stuff was made clearer in DS9, though, just like how
Yeah.
Federation
how it
officers
works.
living in
And
a
it's
place
also-
with a liquid economy like that.
It's
like,
also interesting,
operate.
even in TOS, though, you never see any, like, modern day, or, like, what we consider, like, a corporation or anything like that of the future, the future or anything. It's all,
You also
like,
don't go to Earth.
Yeah, maybe that's what I don't know, but
They
never-
haven't figured any
but
of that
they
out.
never interact with them out in space. The only people
'Cause
they
they
ever
don't have
interact
to.
with are mercantile type people and stuff like Harry Mudd, or Cyrano Jones. That
Yeah, but like Roddenberry's idea of a positive future back in the days of TOS is there's no poverty and there's no war, and he hasn't
Yeah.
fought much. And we go out to explore, not to make war.
Right, he
That's
doesn't really get
that's how
into it
far
very
he's
much,
thought of it.
right.
By TNG, he's drinking the the Kool-Aid he's buying into his own press of like he's the great philosopher. So that's when it turns into, and nobody has any personal problems with each other anymore, and there's no money, and all of that. It's like none of that is thought out. Like, we know that Federation officers in TOS get a salary, even if it's credits.
So he's almost completely changed leadership on all of Ferengi.
Yeah, I always have to remind myself that Brandon doesn't necessarily know about all of the stuff and what's coming.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, that's another thing I never understood. Is we talked about. Did we watch Bar Association?
yeah.
We did. I think we watched it as a part of one of our other things. I don't think we watched it as part of this, though. Did we?
We watched. I thought that was the episode. Was it not? There's a. We watched a
Union
Ferengi episode
episode?
with Brun a few
I
weeks
don't
ago.
remember. I think. Well, that's the thing I don't understand is why Quark doesn't have to abide by any kind of labor laws. Apparently, he would at least have to. He's subject to Bajoran law.
That's
on
a
that
good point.
station, you know what I mean? So when they've had crime with civilians in the past, they've had to bring in a magistrate from Bajor and stuff.
I think we kind of sweep that under the rug a lot by just saying Cisco gives him leeway because Cisco wants him there.
He wants him there, right? The community leader.
And that's
thing,
kind of all it is, yeah.
yeah.
And that's too much of a catch-all.
Yeah. I mean, he can't just mistreat people. He can't sexually harass his employees. You know what I mean? That's too much.
No, that's fine. Cisco has no problem with that. That's fine. 'Cause, 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 'cause,
The brain.
This actress is really excellent though. Like you buy she and Quark as like
Right.
the mother son relationship.
Blam. Oh my god.
And again, I have to give them, they're really consistent with their world building with Ferengi Noir and with how the monetary system works and the sort of religion aspect of it.
Yeah. Except for Bandai syndrome. They're no good at that, apparently, with all their smarts.
Well, I was talking about how the Ferengi are inherently a satirical species. I think they're not just a satire of, like our monetary system, but they're a satire of the Klingons in the show. Because we do a lot of the same kind of world building and like intrigue and stuff with them, but in a comedic way. We're like, we've got Quark's like arch nemesis in Brunt the same way that Worf had his with Duras. Yeah, like there's a lot of parallels, right?
Yeah.
And you have this kind of mirror, maybe. I've never thought about this, so tell me I'm overthinking this. But you got maybe like a mirror with Zach for Gowron.
Yeah, I guess you could see that. Yeah, she looked like she was wearing the outfit of the Klingon judge from 6 for a second there when she had that hood on and stuff.
She should have the fist gavel. There's a lot of silver blankets in this era of Star Trek.
It's like space blankets. They would have got NASA space blankets.
Exactly. I'm manipulating things because I'm a Ferengi, because that's what we do.
Oh god.
Yeah, there's this cool line we walk with Quark where he's...
Oh, dear.
He's indicative of the typical Ferengi, but he also surprises other Ferengi with just how good he is at it, with how underhanded he is. And sometimes it's just really funny to me, like, how angry other Ferengi will be at him for perfectly following the rules of acquisition.
Oh, yes. Here's this Marauder.
Like, I hate you, but I love you at the same time.
Well, that's why it's not sustainable. That's why the whole thing should fall apart.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, see, they're just the Playmates figures. And they have the lightning whips that those had.
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
But I don't think they were blue before.
Lightning whips.
So I think they fixed the color. This might be the only time...
Is it weird that we never see the lightning whip after TNG? I would have liked to have seen him again.
Come up in a Star Trek episode. I'm sorry, what, Brandon?
I was just gonna say, are they making fun of like fans who collected action figures at this point?
Yeah, maybe. I mean, I don't know if they're thinking specifically about what's going on with Playmates right then, but there is this like massive problem, and this is what ultimately kind of destroyed that line for that company. I don't want to say like speculation, but it's this. They had this problem where they would try to manipulate the market and create. That's the term where they would create artificial scarcity.
Right.
I've talked about this somewhere on the channel before too, but have I told you guys about the 1701 line?
Yeah.
Do you know about this?
Which one?
Yes.
With Playmates, where they would make a figure. I think it was usually 2 packs, and they would make exactly 1,701 of them. That's all they would make to create scarcity, and this was before the days of online pre-orders, so you would have to get them as soon as they dropped on the shelf at a Walmart or wherever.
Oh wow!
And what would happen, of course, is the employees that worked at those places would scrounge them all up before anybody could get them, and then they would scalp them somewhere, or they would keep them because they were collectors. And that destroyed that line.
Oh wow!
That's why Playmates lost the license ultimately.
Wow.
I remember
not just the 1701 line, but just those kinds of practices.
They used to be
there were a lot of those.
So much Star Trek stuff at Toys R Us, and then around like 97, 98, it started to trickle, less and less, and then it was just like nothing. That must have been around when they lost it.
Yeah, and then they did a lot of like variants and things.
Yeah.
And they just oversaturated the whole thing. Well, I guess we could have talked a little bit more about that actual episode. We went off the beaten path a little bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the big turn there for Ferenginar, where that culture is never the same after that.
Right.
And it becomes a lot of Quark kind of doing this dance of, like loving the traditions of Ferenginar,
right.
but also it's his family that is changing everything and getting more progressive, and so he's stuck in the middle. And as much as that's played for comedy, it's interesting in its own way, certainly.
Well, he talks about in this episode how living amongst the humans with their morality and stuff has changed him. He's like, he said it's like I've been brainwashed, because I'm being a Ferengi, but like I'm kind of thinking about the cost of having done that.
Yeah, well, and that's why I said earlier that in its roundabout way, the Federation is still somewhat responsible for how Ferenginar changes. Because I was talking about how
indirectly
that happens with Kronos and like Picard's direct influence with the government there, and here it feels like at first it doesn't really have anything to do with our people, that like it's all internal, but it isn't exactly because of the influence that the Federation has on Rom and Quark.
True.
That is true.
I mean, like, Ishka is more directly responsible, I guess, than anybody. And there is maybe the question of, like, why does she push these progressive ideals more than anybody else on that planet? I would imagine that there are other women that would love a liberation movement that agree with her, but I mean, centuries and centuries, nobody's ever done anything. And now
why Allison her?
Something's why her? Exactly. And I don't know that there's having not gone back and looked at a couple of episodes with her before this in a long time, Adam, I'm not sure that there's a real satisfying explanation for that, because I don't think those
it's just like
more enlightened Federation ideals trickle down to
like,
her.
They established that she was always like kind of, I guess, a rebel. Like that's why, and Quark had all this animosity, or his animosity towards her is because he's like, you humiliated father, you always wore clothes, the kids would make fun of us, and it was, so I guess it was something that was always been going on with her, but then they talk about had an opportunity here because of her with Zek and stuff.
Yeah, like they have that great conversation where we also make it clear how much like his personality comes from her too. Yes,
because their father is more like Rom, and he was never good at business and stuff.
Well, and that's another really good parallel to the Klingons, where all Klingons are expected to be warriors and to be obsessed with dying with honor and care more about that than how long they live. And you get Klingons that are better at science or being doctors or whatever it is, and they're always kind of looked down at by the rest of society.
That was a cool thing they went into in Enterprise with that whole kind of, I thought,
with that two-parter in season 4.
Yeah.
Yeah, but what I was gonna say is, even outside of DS9, TNG tackled that a little bit with a Ferengi scientist.
Right,
Who
and a
hi-
Klingon scientist in
his
that same
culture is not
episode, I
interesting.
think.
Yeah, where they're kind of outcasts,
Yeah.
and then they're ultimately the people that are going to create progress for their respective societies.
Right.
So yeah, there's
They're
a
kind
lot of really
stagnant.
cool, interesting, thoughtful ideas,
Right.
with some of these like society building episodes with the Ferengi.
Definitely.
However you feel about the comedy.
Would you ever be interested to see the Ferengi in like a movie as like a major plot character?
I mean, I don't know how to answer those kind of questions where Star Trek is these days.
No, not with
So,
the,
like, no.
Okay, like in prime continuity.
Yeah, but you just mean like back in the day,
Like
if
20
we'd done
years
it
ago
in
or
the
whatever?
Yeah, if we
30
done
years
it,
ago?
I guess if we done it in the '90s, early 2000s.
Because again, it's all technically prime continuity now. I just don't buy into any of it. You see what I'm saying? So like that's a very sticky
as an
question.
extension of maybe like post Voyager. If we'd done something post Voyager, would you have been interested to see Ferengi make an appearance?
I don't know. I mean, it just depends on what story you're telling, right? Like,
Sure.
a Ferengi movie doesn't sound appealing. Like, I don't know. I'm just not sure what you're even asking.
Like if they like, I mean, we've got Klingons as villains in a movie. What about Ferengi as villains in a movie?
I don't think that would have worked because it didn't work in season 1 of TNG.
I'm beating a dead horse to even answer that question, but like they were turned into a joke because that didn't work in the first place.
Yeah,
like,
true.
So
True.
You know, you can make anything work. As I've said 100,000 times in various contexts on the channel, you just have to make it work. So could you have like some off the beaten path like exception character that's like a really scary Ferengi that's the villain for your movie? I guess that sounds counterintuitive. Like it's not what I would do.
Sure. You make some good points.
But it just depends on what story you're telling. I don't know. I'm not gonna jump for joy and get really excited about that. Like if I was writing that movie and for some reason that was the idea I had, I would do everything I could to insist to the studio that it didn't come out until the trailers that's what we were doing. You know what I mean? Because you wouldn't want that leak. Like, oh, and the big villain, the con for this movie is some random Ferengi. Like,
Yeah.
who cares?
Damon Bach is back. Demon Tog.
Demon Dog. Let's rate this one real quick. I'll go first. That's a solid 3.
Yeah, I think I would give that a 3.
Sure. I mean that it's better than a 2.5, but you know it's not a 3.5 for me. It's a solid episode. It's just and it's a solidly Ferengi episode. It's just what I already mentioned. How it didn't, you know, it's not world building to me. So, 3.
Okay, let's go ahead and take a break, and then we'll come back and watch our last episode for tonight. So make sure that you're rigged up for episode 21 of Season 5. It Soldiers the Empire. Really interesting with all the Klingon and Ferengi paralleling we just did, that we've got a Ferengi and Klingon episode right back to back. So maybe we'll find ourselves doing even more of that. But we're finally getting into some General Martok, who we just introduced as a real honest-to-God character, and he hasn't gotten to do anything yet. And so this will be really the first episode where people get a real good sense of him, I think.
Yeah.
Now he was the one that they met in the prison where Worf was fighting.
Yeah,
right?
and that's the last time we saw him.
Right.
So he gets brought in as sort of a liaison to the station. He actually lives on the station right now.
I've seen a couple of episodes with him. Yeah.
And then now we're sending him off. Well, and I mean, you know, he's a major mainstay, you know, every other episode kind of character once we get into Dominion War proper.
Really? I didn't know he was that regular.
Oh yeah. So you don't know about
why we're watching.
So you don't know about House of Martok or any of that stuff. Like,
nope.
Okay. Yep. He's a big deal later. We will see you guys in 3 or 4 minutes. Thanks for joining us. Okay, hopefully Adam will be back here in a second. And we'll get back into this. Sometimes I'm not sure if co-hosts are back and just waiting on me, or if he's not back at his desk. I don't think he's back at his desk yet, Brandon.
I am back now.
Oh, now he is back. So is this the new microphone you found?
Oh, no, it's not.
No, still not.
Well, I don't know where. Yeah, that's put away somewhere. Or it's not.
I was like,
but
I don't
it's-
really detect
I forgot
any
to get it out.
any meaningful difference.
He says what?
I don't detect any meaningful difference. That's why I was asking, because I
No,
thought you were
it's
going to
just
get it
some
out for this.
iPhone headphones.
Okay, Brandon.
1 sec, I'm gonna shut this door.
There's not any doors in ops.
It just appeared there.
Okay.
What's going on
There's
with
also
the
not any.
fabric of society?
There's also not any ghosts
Okay.
or. Briefly, I thought I saw the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man. Did you see that?
Yes, that created a very weird effect. You walking back there
Oh, it
in
did?
ops suddenly became your place of residence.
It did, yeah. I'm gonna go with Crap Holodeck.
Oh yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's the sign of the LaForge.
The sign of the Forge.
If you remember that episode.
Is that the radiation episode?
That's
the
pretty
Iceman?
good.
That's the one where where Worst Brother is transporting those people off the planet, and they have to
Oh,
seamlessly
yeah.
do it in the
It's with Paul Sorvino, his worst
thing,
brother.
but it's malfunctioning because of course it is.
That episode boring.
But that
It's
is
an
the
interesting
episode.
notion, and it kind of shows like hypocrisy, like why the Federation, they have the Prime Directive, and they willingly let civilizations die, what I mean? A lot, but I mean,
I mean, don't influence them. Figure
Yeah.
out like
But-
it's a weird double-edged sword, right?
yeah, it's Starfleet. I think is the one that it's a Prime Directive is a Starfleet rule, right? Not a Federation rule. It's like Starfleet General Order 1, correct?
I think even that's a little murky.
Because
But-
I don't think Nikolai Roshenko is technically required to act under, the guidelines of that. Because
Yeah,
of,
that's fair. And I mean, Starfleet's like the main, the exploration
Right.
arm of the Federation. So, like, I guess I would assume that most Federation worlds agree with that as a value,
Right.
probably. But no, that's a good point. I mean, there is a distinction to make there.
I wonder what the Federation would call it, because if it's an adopted doctrine of Starfleet, which is like basically what would be the naval arm of the
Yeah, it's like
U.S.
the Uniform Code of Justice, basically.
Yeah.
Is what it is, or something. Yeah.
Well, that's what I was going to say. That, and that's when you get into the murkiness of, is it military or isn't it?
Yeah.
That whole thing. Okay, so Brandon is obsessed with Standard Replicator. We're gonna do one more real fast, and it's gonna be an easy one.
Okay.
And Brandon gets to. Well, I should never say easy. I should never say that.
You say that a lot, and then it turns
Easy
out
for Brandon.
50 rounds later.
But I had to pick one that I know Brandon will have heard of.
I have heard of the Goddard.
So
I just could not remember it.
Well, no, that's not what I mean. The thing I was gonna do, I don't know if you'd know.
Oh,
So I gotta
okay.
pick one that I know you'd know. But
what were you gonna do? Or are you gonna save it?
No, I'll save it. I'll save
Okay,
it. I'll
cool.
save it. Because I might use it
We'll do it sometime.
later. Yeah, I was gonna do like a straight up DS9 thing.
Okay.
But I'm gonna make it broader than that.
Okay,
Just
is it
because
bigger than
with
Worf?
with no disrespect, I just don't know what DS9 things I can be sure you'll know that aren't like
That's
really
true.
easy, obvious things.
But once we go through this, I'll know a lot.
A little bit,
heck of a lot
quite a bit more. Yeah, absolutely.
If this were Trek After Dark, I could swear.
That's true. You could. Anyway, go ahead, Brandon.
Is it bigger than Worf?
It
We're gonna
is.
Start with
Yeah,
that.
it is. That's smart. You start with size. Size matters. Adam.
Is it? You said what? You said is it bigger than Worf?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Is it alive?
It is not alive.
Is it a planet?
It is a planet.
Ooh.
Planet.
You have a guess?
No.
You have a guess of any planet in Star Trek?
No, I don't have a guess.
What if he nailed it?
I mean, I could guess. Forcus 3.
It is not Forcus 3.
You guys are obsessed with Forcus 3. Let me think here. Is it in TNG?
Yes.
Planet in TNG.
Is it in more than one series?
Yes.
Okay. Adam?
I'm thinking. Is it in the original series?
No. Adam's got tape or something.
Yes, it's got some electrical tape in my
Some
hand.
electrical tape.
But look, it disappears if I get it.
Is it in DS9?
Sorry, did you say it wasn't TOS?
Not in TOS.
Not in TOS, no.
DS9?
Yes.
Deep Space Nine. Is this a planet that we visited as opposed to just heard about?
There's the rub. I'm not sure. I'm not sure if we've actually been
seen
there.
it.
I'll say
Okay.
I can guarantee you we've been like in orbit.
You know.
I don't know if we've actually physically been. I think so, but I'm a little rusty. So I'm second guessing that.
Let me think here.
Do we see aliens from this planet?
Yes.
Aliens.
Do you have a guess?
Is this a Federation member world?
It is.
Okay.
Is it ever referenced in Voyager?
Probably. I couldn't tell you an example, but probably.
Let me think. Are the aliens that from there? Are they blue?
They are not blue.
So I was wondering
It's
that
gonna be
too.
bullious.
Nah, I'm not doing. That's too obvious.
That's too obvious.
This evening, I'm not doing that.
Well, and conversely, they could have been blue, but not. Well, I guess the Andorians aren't they in the original series too?
Yeah.
Yeah, but we don't really see them except for like a hologram of one.
Are they is this planet
TNG.
referenced in Enterprise?
I don't know.
Okay.
No. Almost certainly not.
Let me think here.
They do a lot of cute one-off references for things, so it's possible.
Let me think. Is there a main character that's from this planet?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I was.
Do you have a
my
guess?
next question.
Is it Trill?
It's not Trill.
Okay.
'Cause we've been to Trill, haven't we?
Yes, the baths and those caves with the things.
We've been to Trill at least a couple of times, I
a
want to
couple
say.
times.
And you were only sure that we'd at least been in orbit of it.
Yes.
You couldn't
Yeah.
remember if we'd ever been there, so not Trill.
Trill I know for sure.
Is it is the character that's from this planet one of the species of the planet? Like, it's not like a human from, say, Andoria. Like, if somebody lived on, just as an example.
Yeah.
Is
Yes.
the character okay?
Yeah, I don't know any characters in Star Trek that like lived on a planet that they weren't.
Yeah, that
A
really
native
narrows it
of it
down
was
there,
like a main-
Brandon.
That was my question.
Did
Sorry.
we establish this as a main character? Or
Yes.
is this
Yes.
a side character? Okay. Let me think. Is it? Why we've seen that planet? I know for a fact, but maybe. Is it Beta Z? That's my
Yes.
guess. Is it Beta Z?
It's Beta
Yeah.
Z, yeah.
Oh wow.
We saw it in Menage a Troy, as they go there, and that's where they get abducted.
That's right. See, I never revisit
I was
those.
actually wondering if it was
I
Beta
don't,
Z.
I don't like a lot of those episodes. So I couldn't remember if we were actually on that planet.
Yes,
or
it's like
not.
weird. It's like all gardens, like a lot of those planets, and it's got these weird like mushroom-looking buildings and stuff. I don't know what that's
Mushroom-looking
about.
buildings. Okay.
Yeah.
Quote of the night. Mushroom-looking buildings.
Okay, it's
It looked like the
nearly 11.
chemosphere in Los Angeles, if any of you know what that looked like. Also known as Troy McClure's house from The Simpsons.
Are you guys good to knock this episode out?
Yes.
Okay, let's go ahead and do that then. Get ready
right.
to press play when I say now. It's Soldiers of the Empire. Adam, am I remembering this right? I think suddenly the plot has come to me. This is these Klingons on the ship are like kind of like outcasts and pathetic, and they need
They've
a win.
had a run of bad luck.
Yes.
And they think their ship is cursed.
They
and
really
they're-
need a win.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Yeah. And then Martok is kind of. He doesn't have his mojo back, I guess, since his experiences with the Dominion, and so he's like cautious and stuff too. And then Worf is like trying to get him to be more aggressive, and then they have conflict, if I'm remembering this correctly. And
Yeah, it
stuff.
feels like Martok takes over the ship. Like trying to get his groove back, like you said, trying to get back in the swing of things, but also sort of like a good restaurant manager taking over a like crappy restaurant that's not doing very well. Like that's
he's
what
like trying to Gordon Ramsay the ship or something.
exactly. That's what it feels like. All right, everybody, get ready to press play. We're just about to do it. Adam, are you prepared?
I am prepared.
All right, everybody, please press play right now.
Oh,
yeah.
those safeties.
Martok, he talked when he should have. How many scenes do we do like this between TNG, DS9, and Voyager? We have a scene that opens with a character that was doing something stupid on the holodeck and broke
think of all the
something.
times O'Brien injured himself on the kayaking.
Yeah, I always flash back to that girl from
the
Amnesia episode.
Amnesia.
That's what I was talking about.
Conundrum.
When she's like, I should have tugged Commander.
Why am I wearing a bathing suit?
Stop. I love Conundrum. That's an episode I've seen a ridiculous number of times for some reason. I always think of Conundrum as in Clues as kind of like companion pieces.
Guess the Cardassians didn't have self-cleaning technology installed.
That's a nice bit of camaraderie between those two.
Yeah, because they had that whole experience.
No, that's fun. We remember that they went through that together, and they should be friends.
Because Worf's using Naga as his lackey here.
How cool!
I do think. Sorry, real quick. I do think it would have been nice if we'd had one scene with Martok somewhere in an episode before this, just to remind us that he's still on the station. Like it doesn't feel like he's been living
They haven't shown
here.
him at all. I don't.
Not really.
I don't remember. They mentioned him in the last episode, but they didn't show him.
I'm sorry, Brandon.
I was going to say, considering some projects that have been talked about for Las Vegas in which people want you to recreate like the Enterprise or something like an office building form, but it's never quite, like, it's always like subjectively, kind of looking akin to the Enterprise, but never like perfectly like it. I feel like this space station is actually a perfectly buildable building.
Well,
I think it would be really cool.
Kind of.
And the way it would stand on a structure if you actually built it on land, I feel like you could get away with making like a novelty hotel like this, and it would be awesome.
Yeah, except it didn't work when Star Wars did it.
No,
They had,
but I still think it would be cool. I don't think it would necessarily have to be Star Trek themed.
That's because that model was preposterous.
Yeah.
Like it was an obscene amount of money.
Yeah.
And what you got to do there was lame.
Yeah.
I don't know why they thought anybody would pay for that. I I mean, for the amount of money that you had to pay to go to that thing, you should have got to go to space.
Oh yeah, Worf's still Brandon. Worf's living on the Defiant. I think still. This is like his bachelor pad.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes.
Really?
And I don't think he moves off the Defiant until he gets married to Dax.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't know he lived there.
I think he lives there that
Why didn't he
long.
have
He doesn't
quarters?
like living on the station. He couldn't get comfortable. So
He tried.
So-
and he didn't like
Really?
it.
He tried
So
it,
they let
didn't
him
like
do
it.
that? That
Yeah.
seems kind of...
I mean, it's docked.
Yeah, but when it's not docked, is he just still living there?
I mean, when it's not docked, he's there on a
He's on
mission,
it.
So he's
He typically captains the Defiant.
he's
So.
yeah.
So I mean, that's no different than being on a bigger starship, I suppose.
So I'm just gonna keep
Alright.
comparing Klingons to Ferengi because I guess that's what I'm doing tonight.
It's always something
That's
new
what
at
I do
Star
with my
Trek Club.
evening. So Worf is always played as the prototypical Klingon in the same way that Quark is for the Ferengi, but he also isn't because he was raised by humans.
Right.
Mhm.
So the real prototypical
Prototypical
Klingon who
is
is
Martok.
actually honorable and like fulfills their ideals in like the most positive way possible is Martok.
Mm-hmm.
And it's astounding to consider how much Klingon lore we have in 24th century Star Trek before you get to Martok. Like
Right.
there is a huge piece missing that we didn't even realize
Every
we were
other
missing
Klingon
before you
that
get to
we've
Martok.
seen pretty much is a duplicitous asshole, basically, for the most part, except for until we get to Martok in the 24th century.
Yeah,
Except for Worf.
because Gowron is everything that's wrong with that
Yeah,
society.
he is. And everybody before Gowron.
And he, of course, tries
And
to
Peck.
play himself like the prototypical Klingon, but
Right.
he's just a politician.
He's just a politician.
And Martok shows you... I mean, he's like this really important mirror for the way Klingon society has
Should be.
become like a parody of itself or a perversion of itself. To say like, oh no, there maybe was something here at some point, and it got corrupted, and it's sort of like, not to get too political, but it's sort of like the society we live in now, where with the kind of capitalistic democratic society, we were maybe onto something, but how well has that really worked out for us? At this point, look how kind of corrupted the system seems to be, and a lot of people feel like we need to kind of wipe it away and start with something new. That's where Kronos is.
Yeah. But it's interesting because both Martok and Rom become the leaders of their respected societies at the end of this show, and they both are kind of, I guess, going to lead a reform of that society.
And then of
in their
course we
own
never
way.
see if any of that works out, but
No. We assume it does.
meanwhile Romulus explodes. Thanks, J.J. Abrams.
Cisco, are you going to say something crazy here?
Well, it's Cisco.
You never
so
can
probably.
tell. You might just do something crazy.
But in looking at these societies that kind of become perversions of themselves and are falling apart and in total denial, Romulus arguably starts in that place like before we ever get to it, right? Because it's like it's Rome after it fell, but it still holds on by a thread.
Right.
And then
I think
Cardassia
even
is
going
almost
back
the
to
other
TOS
side of
Romulus
that.
is like that, you know?
I'm sorry, what was that?
It's like, even going back to TOS Romulus is like that and stuff when you see, like, what they're expected to do and, like, balance of terror and stuff, to destroy, blow their ship up, basically, and everything.
Yeah, I mean, it's the closest that you can get to like the mirror universe without
Yeah.
it being quite that extreme where like every captain gets his command by killing the previous captain.
Yeah.
But Romulus gets close to that.
I like how they call their military the defense forces. Because I'm pretty sure the Klingons go on the offense a lot.
Oh yeah, that's interesting. That's almost like Orwellian doublespeak or something. Yeah, I've never really thought to criticize that. Why is it called the Klingon Defense Force? That sounds like something Gowron probably made up.
Interesting way.
They probably didn't even have that before. That's true. Where it looks like a claw.
Yeah, it just docks on the front nose.
Yeah. So I think this ship winds up becoming Martok's like main bird of prey and stuff.
And of course, with Romulus, there being offshoots of Vulcans is really important too. Because then that makes them look almost like a dark mirror of Vulcan, which isn't fair because like there's potential positive things in their society also, like they're Vulcans with a passion brought back in.
Yeah.
Ancient sea pirates.
And also running your ships off of a tiny singularity is just kind of badass. Like Romulan technology is awesome.
Yeah.
This feels like a thing that maybe Moore and Bear have been wanting to do forever, and they finally found an excuse for it. Where it's like, how didn't we do more like whole episodes on a Klingon ship in TNG? Like the closest we have is in like the second season.
Yeah, this is kind of a follow up to that in oblique way. What is that episode? The one with Riker goes to. He gets the officer.
Is it Matter of
program.
Honor?
Something honor.
I'm almost positive. Yeah, because TNG has 3 Matter episodes, and I think that's one of them. Because it's Matter of Honor, Matter of Perspective, which is a terrible episode, and Matter of Time, which is my favorite episode of TNG.
Ooh.
And of course, you'd save the neck bones from the Cardassian, because they would be the largest of the bones.
They probably made Cardassian neck bone soup.
So they're like Shredder versus the Ninja Turtles? Worf in a Klingon uniform is always exciting.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't get to do it very often.
No. Oh, this is when she goes with him. That's right.
Adam, can you remind me when they start officially dating? I can never remember where that is.
It's the episode looking for Parmak in all the wrong places.
Oh, that's what it is.
Because he is interested in that woman that, remember that in the House of Quark, that Klingon woman that Quark
Is it
marries?
Grilka?
Grilka, yeah.
It's Grilka, yeah.
He does like this Pygmalion type thing.
I forgot that's where it was.
Yeah, or Cyrano Borshak or something a little bit with the,
In
tries to help Quark win her over and stuff.
And Worf realizes through the course of that, while he's training with Dax, that he's actually falling for Dax.
And then they all wind up making out. Because remember, he's hooked up to Quark and he's with the batleth and stuff. He's doing it for
It's
him.
a cool moment because you don't necessarily expect it.
Yeah. And then they all like. Yeah.
And it's sort of the Kira Odo thing where it's like, have we been building to this or not? Like it kind of works either way. Because they have a natural connection just because Dax has so much background with the Klingons.
Yeah.
Oh, that episode you were talking about earlier with Worf's human brother. You guys were talking about the kind of moral conundrum with that episode. All of that is interesting. I just think the episode itself is kind of boring and lame. That whole thing feels like an excuse for Michael Dorn to not have to wear Klingon makeup for one episode.
Yes, and then for them to get Paul Sorvino, who's a big guest star, for them on that episode too and stuff. He had just done Goodfellas, I think, at that point. And stuff.
Oh, is that who that is?
Yeah.
Wow, I didn't realize that. Now someone bring me some blood pie. Sorry, what?
This is in the Worf song on the internet. This bit where he says, "I serve the captain, but I stand with the crew."
Oh, remember that? Yeah.
Yeah. I.
That's a cool riff.
Yeah. This one's like, this is shit.
It's cool that where we start with this, we actually hang on to the Rataran.
Yes.
Now, we're getting ahead of ourselves, but you already spoiled like who runs planets at the end of the show. So
I did kind of do
So
that.
I'll just ask you, Adam. Just remind me: does the Rataran get away unscathed through the entire Dominion War, or does it get blown up at some point?
I don't think it gets blown up.
This is a great speech.
I mean, gore to the Empire.
Is this the episode with the famous Klingon song with the pounding?
Yes.
I used to know some of the words
so
to that.
Klingon songs. This one has it, and then there's also the song that he sings with that old Klingon in The Way of the Warrior. So there's two Klingon songs.
Which is before this.
Yes.
I was gonna say I didn't think this episode invented that song. I thought that existed already.
Yeah, and this is a different song. So I think this episode does invent a song.
Oh, does it? Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
When they start pounding on the
Brandon,
console,
you gotta love the Klingon pads.
Oh yeah,
that guy's just
unnecessarily heavy.
Just like all their ships. I mean, in an age of like really light-looking starships, the Klingon ships just look like they weigh so much.
I just like that their pads look like you could kill someone with them.
Yeah,
like you could chuck a pad.
Utilitarian as well as they function for many different things.
And it's almost like Klingon technology was made with rust on it in the first place.
Bat'leth pad.
Klingon. When I was a kid, they're like everything about them was like the coolest thing to me. I love like their like all their technology, the way it looked in their ships and their outfits
And I also still love that Martok doesn't bother to get the bolt on his face. He just lets everybody live with his eye like that.
Yeah.
I don't know why Martok doesn't just kill this guy outright.
He should.
Insubordinate.
This guy's he's old. He's used up his time too.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy that he puts up with that. We are a little bit inconsistent, I think, sometimes with just because of how impractical it would be for Klingons to kill each other as often as they talk about like, oh, if you whereas like if you look at me wrong in a turbo lift, I'm within my rights to kill you. You'd have no crew.
Yep. They also did it in the Terran Empire too, which was crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, that's why I brought that up earlier. But
this guy.
Yeah.
So sometimes I kind of want to see that happen more often, and then I'm like, well, there's probably a certain amount of bluster too.
Yeah.
What, that one guy's not even wearing like all his uniform. He's like missing like the top part of it.
Yeah, he's just not taking it seriously.
He doesn't give a crap.
But again, Martok should throw a Tog knife at that guy for that.
Yes. Haha.
Dax is the only person here acting like a Klingon. Adam, there's a special feature on the DS9 DVDs where they're showing behind the scenes stuff, and that's a scene where they show you like that from a different angle and the mics and stuff. Like it's specifically that moment. I love how everybody just kind of like accepts her without like pretty soon after she comes on the ship. Just because she acts more like a Klingon than they do. It's great. Kill them all.
You go to prison for that.
his line delivery is so good.
Oh, that's bad.
One of the weirdest things you were talking about that Klingon two-parter in Enterprise Season 4. I think it's the same episode. It's really weird to see Hertzler play a different Klingon.
Yeah.
They bring him in for one scene, I think to just get killed real quick. I can't remember anymore.
Well, I thought he had been like a whole guest star with Archer. He was like Archer's representative or something like that, a lawyer or something like that. Do you remember?
No, that's not Hertzler.
That's not Hertzler?
No,
Oh.
that's that Klingon guy from the movies.
Oh.
That's that guy from
Oh,
4.
John Schruck?
Yes.
Oh.
That's who that is. And they did that specifically, I think, because they went to Rurapente.
That's right.
And so they're like, well, we'll get this guy because he's played a Klingon from that era.
I was getting this confused.
And
Yeah.
we're throwing back to that era. No, Martok just shows up in kind of a cameo.
That's right.
Be a captain in a firefight or something.
Is he in the episode when they like are doing the whole unnecessary backstory about why the Klingons don't have head ridges and
Yes.
stuff? That's okay. That's the one.
But that's the same episode with that doctor you were talking about.
Yes, it is. It is. He
There's
comes
some good
back.
stuff in that.
You're right. He does come back.
So she just likened him to a Ferengi, just like you've been likening Klingons and Ferengis all night.
That's why I was getting that mixed up.
This girl looks like she could be the third Dura sister.
She does.
Oh, I guess I'm a little bit wrong about that. I forgot that her being Worf's lover doesn't come up until this scene. And then why do we have a Klingon that looks like Chief O'Brien pretending to be a Klingon?
Ooh.
Yeah, you kind of walked into that one, really.
Yeah.
This guy.
This guy is cracking me up with his expressions.
Yeah, he's great. He
He just keeps leering.
He looks like he should be playing bass in a rock band.
What would a Klingon rock band be called?
Stovacor.
It would be those. It would be
That's
the
metal.
music that you heard in
Well,
the
no, there is
episode where
one.
on Voyager
That's why I
when
said
the
that.
Doctor makes his family. Remember? And there's those Klingon guys that are the teenage boys' friends, and they listen to that weird music.
Oh, remember that? Oh,
it's like
that whole thing is so stupid. Why'd you have to bring that up? Yeah, what is the name of that episode? Real Life?
Yeah, something like that.
Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
But no, I think that that like Klingon fan band is called Stovacor.
Stovacor.
Which sounds like it should just be a subgenre of like nerd rock, right?
Why does she
Yeah.
actually look so like
Stovo core.
Yeah.
Like nerdcore? Sorry, what?
So concerned in that moment when he says that. Is it because she's understanding that they expect defeat?
Or it sounds like the name of like a prog rock band from
I think
the
it's because we're
70s.
about to get a commercial break.
Oh.
And we gotta excite the audience to come back. But no, it's what you're talking about. I'm sorry, what, Adam?
It sounds like the name of a prog rock band from the 70s too, you know, like Stovo
ship
Core
is that?
or Steppenwolf or something like that, you know.
Well, and then there was a hair band in the 80s called Tapao.
Oh, really?
Do you know about that?
No, I did not.
That was relatively mainstream. That's not even like a nerd
fan thing.
Yeah. No, that was a real band. Or it was either a hair band or it was like a all girl band that might have still been sort of like hair metal type music. I can't remember anymore. I've never listened to them. But my dad always used to talk about them because he thought it was so cool that a band was called the Pow.
So he also says engage.
Everybody says engage.
Engage.
I think this is, I mean, it's been a while since I've seen this, Adam, but I think this is more of a character piece for Martok than anybody. Like, he really has the arc here, I think.
It is.
And again, I like that we're couching this through Klingon morality and we're not forcing some other morality on top of it.
Yeah.
And Dax does such a good job of walking both of those worlds.
Yeah.
And I hadn't thought of this before. Maybe part of the reason that they get along so well as a couple and what brings them together in the first place is that walking between the two worlds
right,
thing.
both of them have that.
They both have that.
Yeah.
And specifically, one side of it is Klingon for both of them.
Mm-hmm.
That's a cool shot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like the swing around the ship there.
It's interesting how Martok has kind of lost his way and is in denial about it and doesn't even really realize it. Because very often with a story like this, you'll have a character that is like gotten older and is like past their prime, or in like a sad situation like this, you know, gets thrown in prison for a long time, comes back, has to find, you know, their place in the world again, and has lost their confidence and has to regain it. And this is just really appropriate, especially for like an older seasoned Klingon where he doesn't think he's lost his confidence.
Right.
And he's not self-aware. Just, you know, like the stubborn, like middle-aged or older man trying to you know, retain his sense of, you know, glory, honor, what have you. Like, that's another aspect of that whole thing that's real relatable. Oh my God, all those Legates and Glynns, you guys.
Reliving the glory days.
I have had enough of Legates and Glynns.
I stay away from Legates and Glynns
Into
at
Radiant
KFC.
Shadows.
The Cardassians.
I really like the Klingon perspective of what the Dominion is. Because yeah, that makes it really awkward if you're a Klingon fighting them, because it just wouldn't be real satisfying. Okay, this guy does a good job, but there are places where he feels more like a pirate than a Klingon.
Ah.
I'm actually with him on this. Oh, okay. No, he lost me here. He lost me in that part.
Make Kronos great again.
Oh, this guy goes.
He's a pirate again.
"Ugh." Oh.
But yeah, about 2/4 of that speech I agreed with.
Yeah.
So half.
Because I'm tired, man.
2/4. It's all right. 2/3 maybe.
Leave me alone. But the idea that Klingons need to, respect their adversary to have any honor in killing them.
Right.
It's nice to just get back to brass tacks and bring up like what Klingons are actually after in their battles, and then why these Klingons are kind of pathetic and have lost their way.
Mm-hmm.
Adam, we are all over the place with Klingon names.
Yeah.
A lot of the time, we're like
They are.
half of Klingon names that come up. I'm like, that sounds like it could be of any other species. Like Cornin.
Cornin.
That's a Klingon name just because it starts with a K.
Lesket. That's one.
Lesket. I don't like that.
But not the worst one. Chang.
You know what though? Yeah, Chang is bad just because it sounds like a typical Asian name, right? And you're like, how's that Klingon?
Looks like Ming from like Flash Gordon a little bit too. It's
That's
like little pencil mustache and stuff,
Yeah, so then you get into like a weird like stereotypically like stereotypical race plays, even though it's not, you're not even dealing with an Asian character at all. Like that's so weird.
Yeah.
But that still sounds more like a Klingon name than Azitbur.
Azitbur.
I think Azitbur is
that shot again.
and that's the same movie.
Shot.
That is.
But yeah, now we've got stock footage for that. It's like the 60s Batmobile. But I think Azitbur is the absolute worst one.
That is a weird name.
There was
I
one...
saw that lady in something. I don't something else besides Star Trek 6. That actress. I don't remember what it was. I was surprised.
Robert says, I didn't realize Cap was so pro-Klingon. I just mean I agreed with that from the perspective of the Klingon honor system.
Yeah.
I also think Dax should have just killed that guy.
Yeah.
There's really not quite enough murder in this episode.
No.
Usually
Somebody
I
should
feel
have gotten stabbed.
or allude to.
I guess from the Klingon perspective, you wouldn't call it murder. It would be justified killing, but yeah.
Discommendation.
What's the name of this
Well,
ship again?
even that's not death,
That's not even
though.
death. No, it's just
The Rotaran.
that's a weird word though. Discommendation.
Discommendation.
Yeah.
Murder on board the Rotaran Express.
This guy again.
Oh, Senior Sticks, $5 super chat. Do you believe the Ferengi could have negotiated for the entire Alpha Quadrant and stopped the Dominion War for time, as it seems the war inevitable?
No, they couldn't have negotiated with them because they were like crazy xenophobes that thought that all the solids were going to kill them and stuff.
What
So
would they
didn't-
negotiate for? They're not going to be interested in
They
money.
don't want money there.
No, they want control so
Yeah,
that
control.
they can't be stamped out.
Right.
We take over before they can take
They
over
can
us.
take over us. That's a cool chair. Brandon, do you want that chair?
I want
Like
that
you
chair.
want the Voyager
Kind of
table?
neat, yeah.
And I love that when Martok is really frustrated and doesn't want to have an argument, he just bends over like this.
Yeah, it's like leaning like this.
Hertzler's choices are so spot on, man. I'm telling you, if you made a straight up Klingon show and you want your Klingon characters to be uh, sympathetic, you pattern the whole thing off this character.
Mm-hmm.
That's where you start. Like Martok should be the foundation.
Mm-hmm.
To your question earlier, Brandon, about like a Ferengi villain in a movie or whatever, people for a long time wanted a like a whole show set on a Klingon ship. I think a movie like that could be cool.
Sure.
You know,
I do agree with that.
A solid 2-hour movie. Start with a character that we know and like already, and then build a whole cast around them.
Have you ever watched those like QuickTime cutscene video games all the way through, like the video on YouTube of them, like the Borg game and the Klingon game? Or
No,
I've never done that.
Didn't know those were out there.
It's funny.
They're kind of like, I guess, mini episodes, and that they use the sets and stuff, that existed.
Yeah, and then that was weird because they had O'Reilly playing a Klingon that was not Gowron, but still doing the eye thing.
It's a Klingon trait passed down in the Gowron line.
The 53rd day in the year of KLS 999. Destruct.
But they don't even. But that doesn't match with the calendar. Remember when Worf's deadbeat dad couldn't remember Alexander's birthday? And it's like
Worf deadbeat dad
or something like that. Remember that? So that calendar doesn't match with that. The 34th day of Mac Tac.
Oh my god, I forgot about that. Yeah, nice bit of continuity remembering Kelly Cams.
Kelly Cams.
Because that goes back to the movies, I think.
That ship's way bigger than a bird of prey. You think they would have needed a bigger ship to carry potential survivors from this?
Look, they're desperate, okay?
Yeah. I always like it's cool when they show like the old was it Katanga class battle cruiser and stuff like that in TNG DS9 era.
The what? I thought you said Topanga class.
Katanga, I think is what it's called.
It's a Topanga class warship.
Topanga.
It docks at the Boy Meets World station.
Yes. Or Topanga Canyon in LA. It's the Klingon hippies. That's who's on that one.
And see, what I love about this is Martok is accidentally doing what a Starfleet captain would be doing right now.
Yes.
But it's not proper for his culture.
Right.
And I love that Worf, who puts the Federation ideal now over the Klingon ideal, has to be the person to turn him around, and get him to do it the Klingon way.
Mm-hmm. Like the book, The Klingon Way. Do you have a copy of that?
I do have a copy of that. Yeah. It's cool. Something else that works in DS9 that doesn't in nearly every other Star Trek show.
Yeah.
Maybe every other Star Trek show is you can get away with having the central protagonist of the episode be not main cast in the show, because your supporting characters, or I should say your guest star characters, are often recurring, and you're really blurring the lines of main cast versus guest stars, right? So even though Martok has not been around a lot yet, and we don't know that he'll eventually, maybe to a lesser degree, but be like a Rom or a Nog or a Garrick, thank you. We're establishing here that he is one of those characters, and you're so used to the serialized nature of the show and how big this cast is that you just accept it. Because if this was a TNG episode, I'd be like, why isn't the arc Worf's? Why isn't this guy? But I'm not having that with this because it's DS9. The rules are different.
Yeah.
Why are they still
The
here?
only time that they really did that on, I guess, TNG was like maybe Deanna's mom and things like that. You know, that's the only thing I could think of.
Yeah, and you got away with it okay with her because she appeared 4 or 5 times, and
Right.
it still facilitated so much through Troy. And here, maybe you could even cheat a little bit if this was Martok's first, only episode, because at least Worf and Dax are so involved. But it's
Right.
still not really their episode. It's Martok's
Right.
episode. They do have, to be fair though, they also kind of have an opportunity for change here.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, like, they're refusing to change. It's still more his arc.
Look at these guys.
But there are at least, like, personal stakes for them.
Yeah.
They're putting themselves on the line for this character.
Mm-hmm.
And you care more about him because it's facilitated through our character's eyes that we already care about.
Mm-hmm.
So they're not put on the back burner, at least.
Mm-hmm.
I think it still works anyway, because Martok
Yeah.
is going to be a character that you
Yeah.
keep doing things with and that we care about.
Yeah. They got a lot of use out of this set that they built for 4, didn't they?
Yeah, they did.
Over the years.
Boy, I forgot that's what this was. Yeah, so we're still on the bounty.
Yeah, more or less. I mean, they've made a lot of changes to it over the years, but
The lighting on the set is awesome, with
Yeah.
like the light pouring through the grates at the top.
So about those grates, like I recently saw some theater lighting at a thrift store that looked just like those.
Oh, cool.
It was really cool, but I didn't like. It was a little bit too expensive for me, but it was really cool.
Well, you gotta love the blood on the knife.
Yeah.
We don't always go that far.
Oh.
It's been stabbed.
A read alert.
This is vaguely reminding me of a mock time. Dun 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 dun.
What does that mean? Tavana.
That doesn't sound like a Klingon word.
Tavana.
Topanga.
Uh-oh.
Thank God for those redundant Klingon organs.
Yes.
Man, they're doing that song.
I like that part when they go Yakbo Makbo. That's my favorite part.
Yeah. No, this is a really satisfying scene though. Like this crew finally comes together, and
they don't show the battle though.
I don't think it's important.
Maybe not necessary, really.
I don't think it's important.
No.
This episode's cool because it's a bottle show.
Yeah.
Not on the station or the Defiant. It's a bottle show on a set they built in 1986.
Yes. Oh yeah, this is a cool shot here.
Yeah, that is cool. I like how they.
Oh, nice.
I like how they don't even talk about. Or maybe they do after this. I was gonna say I thought it ended there. That it's fun. They don't even like talk about Worf getting stabbed because it's just he'll be all right. He's clean.
You think he'd be into being an intelligence officer?
Thank God for those.
You know what I mean? Julian.
Redundant organs.
I think it's kind of hilarious how much more of a baddie Worf is in this series, yet he still just got owned on the bridge there.
Yeah, he did get beaten. That's true.
Well, I don't think he got owned. I think he let it happen.
I might have.
That was the whole point.
To give them reason to stand behind Martok again.
Yeah, and to give Martok the confidence to take the right risks.
Arr.
No, see, that wasn't like a pirate. That was like a sports announcer.
Yeah.
Martok might as well have said, "Let's get ready to rumble."
Let's get ready to rumble.
Especially you for letting yourself get stabbed. Then I realized I was the sad, pathetic coward man, and no, I'm kidding.
Sorry I stabbed you.
I mean, Adam, at this point, I think I would go as far as to say that Martok is probably in my, like, top 5 DS9 characters, maybe 3. Like, I really like Martok.
He's so great.
And he's not overused. Like, there's a part of me that could have stood to see him more often.
No. Yeah.
I think they were kind of smart in how sparingly they used him.
Yeah. Oh, is this when he goes?
Oh, this is where we get it. I forgot about that.
I forgot that too.
Yeah, this is what I was talking about earlier, Brandon. I didn't
That's
realize
cool
it was,
because they
it was
changed,
this
and then they
episode.
changed that symbol that Worf's had on his sash since TNG. He starts wearing this new one from here on out.
What's so funny about the House of Moog is that he and Kern talk about it like there's more than just the two of them in it, but there's not. And then he goes a whole year or more being the only member of the House of Moog when Kern fakes his death.
Yeah, the whole memory thing.
Yeah, they wipe his memory. He goes because otherwise he's just gonna wait for Worf to kill him.
Mm-hmm.
I just watched that episode last night. Because Sarah wanted to watch a Star Trek episode, and so we just picked something sort of at random. And that is a better episode than I remembered it.
Yeah.
It's pretty good. But anyway, well, that was fun.
That was good.
Yeah.
I'm learning stuff.
I like Klingon episodes more than Ferengi episodes, so that was really fun watching those back to back because that was even better after I had to sit through a Quark episode.
Mm-hmm.
I'm kidding. I mean, those are fun, but it's not what I come to this stuff for. Let's go ahead and rate this real quick.
Sounds
and
good.
We'll start with Brandon.
I'm gonna give this a 3.5 tonight. Just
That's
because
where I was.
This is a good Klingon episode. It has a lot of Klingon ship politics in it, which are different from some of the other politics we get on Kronos. So I appreciate that, and we've seen a tiny bit of this. I've seen a tiny bit of this before. Like I remember when Riker did an exchange program. And all that.
Yeah, that was the episode we were
thing.
talking about earlier, which again I think is a matter of honor.
Yes. So it was good. 3.5.
What was the name of that ship? Was it the Pog?
The Pog. The Pog, or I think something like. I think it's like Pog.
Like P-A-G-H.
Yes, P-A-G-H. The correct pronunciation would be Pog.
Yeah.
Pog.
But nobody in TNG, especially Michael Dorn, pronounces Klingon correctly.
Right.
And the Slammer.
You stole my joke!
Trying to get to there.
You stole my... I hate you!
I actually, speaking of pogs, I have
Screw
to tell
you, man.
I found my pogs 2 weeks ago.
You took my Pog joke.
I found my pogs 2 weeks ago. They've been packed in a box since like 2009.
You want to do a ridiculous live show where we compare Pogs? Because I know where all my Pogs
really?
are.
I'll bring them.
I don't know if I have mine anymore. I never had that many.
No, what we'll do is we'll do a double camera setup and we'll play with them.
Oh, that'd be hilarious.
I had
play
some
with
Star
them.
Trek
Yes.
ones. It was like Star Trek 6 Pogs.
Yeah.
I don't know what that was about.
I have some Star Trek Pogs, and I think I had some of those specifically actually. And I have I have a decent number actually.
I have less than I used to have.
I have a full set of like the Batman Nightfall Pogs,
Nice.
and I have Spider-Man ones, and I have Power Ranger ones.
I have the Power Rangers ones that they gave out at like McDonald's or something
I have
like
Looney
that.
Tunes
Yeah.
ones.
And I have this.
I even have a homemade slammer.
A homemade one. That's cool. I have a Batman Forever slammer that is shaped like a bat symbol.
Oh, nice.
It's super
What was
cool.
that other show that was like Power Rangers that they tried to do?
Well, there were a few. So VR Troopers was the second one. It was the only other one that was actually kind of popular, and then Beetleborgs was one of the other ones.
Beetleborg.
Okay. That's hilarious that we got there, but you were also at a 3.5 for rating this episode, right?
Yeah, but I mean, it's this channel. It's gonna go to Power Rangers at some point.
It's gonna.
Did you know about the trivia show that Jason and I did, where we got trivia questions and we mixed them up of both Star Trek and Power Rangers.
No,
we did them on the same
hilarious.
show. 3.5 for me too. Adam, did you rate?
I think I had 3.5 for me.
We're all in agreement.
Great Martok episode.
It's wonderful. Scott Simmons, DS9 is my favorite Star Trek show. I met Nana Visitor and Terry Farrell last year, and they were incredibly sweet. Terry was a big crush of mine. That's cool. I have not met either of them. I haven't been to a flat-out Star Trek convention in a really long time. And a lot of the shows, I mean, I haven't been to a lot of shows in the last few years, but like of the things I've done in like the last decade, there's not as many Trek actors that just show up to other cons. Like,
yeah.
Unfortunately. But yeah, DS9, as far as like main cast, I'm a little remiss on. Like, I've met Avery Brooks, and
Was
that's
he crazy?
Yeah, but he was great. He was great. Well, because I told him that and he's one of those guys that, because he doesn't do a lot of cons, especially these days, he probably doesn't go on anything. But back then, like, he very rarely did conventions, and the line was, of course, out the door and took forever to get through. And I think he signed like 3 hours longer than he was supposed to. I mean, it was just preposterous how long he was there. But anyway, I told him that the theme, because we put this on our wine bottles, the theme of my wife's wedding was "The Best Is Yet to Come." We put that on our custom wine bottles, and we mentioned that to him in line, and he sang it to us.
Oh wow,
that was really cool.
That's cool.
But yeah, that was one of the neatest, in-person experiences I've had with anybody.
But you met Renee Auberjonois too, right?
I did. That's
and
true.
He signed your bucket.
You're right. I did. Yes. Renee Auberjonois signed 2 things for me, and he gave me this look when I handed him an ice cream bucket. I got him to sign an ice cream bucket. That was pretty funny. But yeah, and then several supporting cast members of DS9, including Hertzler.
I'd love to meet Armin Shimmerman since he comes to town so often.
Oh yeah, he does that new theater restaurant dinner theater thing, doesn't he?
Mm-hmm.
That's where that's what he comes for.
Yeah, I've thought about going to that. And I've been to a show at that place.
Yeah, I've never been there.
It's been a long time since I've been there.
I went there for the Sister Act musical.
Nice.
Which was okay. I mean,
It's interesting that he
wasn't
came.
bad.
It's usually the people that go to that are 70s sitcom stars for the most part and stuff.
I mean, there's some of that, but it's not all that.
Yeah, and
I
the
thought a lot of
average
it was that.
and the average age in the audience is like 61.
Like when they had Cindy Williams from Laverne and Shirley, and then the guy that was on Ragu or whatever his name was on that show was there, and they did Barefoot in the Park, and they were like 60 years old. It was supposed to be like newlyweds. It was weird.
Interesting.
I remember seeing the commercial for it. Like, what are we doing here?
When was that?
That's awkward. We should have just that should have just been animated, right? Thomas Lowe, have you sold any of your signed Trek items before? No, I mean, I've kept everything.
No reason to get rid of it.
Well, and a lot of it's personalized. I mean, some of it's not, but most of it's personalized. So nobody would want it anyway. we're gonna get going. Everybody, thanks a lot for watching. Sure appreciate it. We will try to be back in a couple of weeks. I'm starting to pretty soon. I'm gonna be getting into. I want to mention this to you guys too. Into filming for the movie, and some of those shoots are gonna have to be on Tuesday nights. So we might have to move this around some, because I've got to prioritize that to get those shoots done. I was hoping to do them on weekends, and everybody is too busy on a lot of weekends. And the best night we have found has been Tuesday nights. So yeah, I'm doing our first shoot actually next Tuesday, which is exciting. And then so I've started ordering equipment, and it's gonna be crazy. And Adam, I still gotta figure out a place for you. I gotta put you in that movie somewhere.
Do it.
You might get to be like a henchman or a ninja or something.
A ninja.
Adam the Ninja.
Yeah.
Anyway, well, thanks for watching, folks, and we'll see you again real soon. We'll do these as often as we can get them out. I was Captain Logan. This is Brandon Graham.
I was Civilian Brandon.
And
Brandon.
Adam Meredith. Bye, guys.